You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
You know, most weeks I spend not an insignificant amount of time during Dan's show on Monday nights or on Tuesday nights coming up with what I'm going to say during the cold opener for this show. Even though it doesn't always seem like I've done a lot of work, I've watched TikTok and read the internet and skimmed through YouTube and read Facebook and checked my email. You know, all the hard work that goes into coming up with a good cold opener. And today, instead, I dug through 13 short boxes of comics only to get comic book Blue Anatomy, trying to find my Captain America or my Captain Marvel run, which is either in the 3 boxes I didn't get to or the 10 boxes at home that I forgot are at home that I realized when I sat down here at my computer and looked at my inventory. Oh, crap. I have 10 boxes at home. So needless to say, I'm very frustrated and didn't come up with a cold opener. So I'm just going to ramble for like a minute and a half about how important it is to know where your comics are at all times so that you don't have this feeling where your heart's about to leap out of your chest because you can't find some very expensive comics that you've worked really hard to collect over the years and tried really hard to keep safe. What's up, Candace? What's up, John? This is In Stores This Week, where we talk about new books that are in stores this week. Not old books that are in my storage facility next door, the office here, which is a whole other set of stress. So let's get started with that. This is, I guess, In Stores This Week. Jay, this is the wrong thing. Well, I fixed it. We're good now. What a week, guys. What a week. It's only Tuesday, and I'm ready for this week to be moved on to next week. It's going to be a whole thing. So,
decided to do something different today. Got a D20 here, and I'm going to roll it before each review, and that'll be the number of words I use for the review.
I feel like that's ill-conceived. Because if you are having a bad dice day, your words are going to be like I and me if you keep crit failing.
So you're saying you want me to talk normal, or it will be a very short show?
I'm just saying you better have more than one D20 in case one D20 fails you. I've never met a D&D player who only has one D20.
No, I've probably got about 20.
Go get them all, because how far are you from your microwave if you need to microwave the dice to kill the demon that's in it?
Most of my dice are metal, so I'm not doing that.
It's true. I have one of my favorite sets of dice. I have a stainless steel set of the whole set are stainless steel, and the D20 is about the size of a golf ball. And if you roll it on a wooden table, you now have a wooden table with chunks taken out of it from this D20. One of my favorites. I'm not allowed to roll that anymore when we play. I have to use it as a life counter for Magic the Gathering and other stuff. People you can't play with that.
I want to get the popcorn tub from Cinemark and those different ones, the D20 popcorn tub. Because as I'm DMing, I would totally bring that out when a big boss came in.
Mm-hmm. That is AMC has those. And they are available. They should be available on the interwebs. If you're interested, Dan. I got, when Ghostbusters Afterlife came out, I got the Ghostbusters popcorn bucket from them.
By the way, anybody who has not seen Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, they're saying that the digital release of it is going to be very soon, like April 17th or 18th. So we're just 2 weeks away.
All right. Let's get into the books for this week. We're going to start with something that I don't remember reading issue 2 of this, but about 3 pages into issue 3, I'm like, if I didn't read issue 2, I'm still good.
Mm-hmm. I didn't read issue 2 because that was one of the nights I wasn't here. And because I remember sending it to you guys and going, oh, I'm not going to get a chance to read this. Or maybe it was a night I skipped reading it or something. But agreed. It didn't slow me down any. This is still such a really good story. I am surprised how much I like this book. You know, the idea that he's going up against the different gods and he's got the big ass hammer. So, yeah, the art is great. The story is great. He's such a good character. This really is one of the top books for me.
Yeah, same. I like this story more with every issue. Man versus machine with like a magical element to it. And we're getting down to the final boss. And that's going to put our main character, Marvin, it's going to put his daughter right there. So I'm really excited to see, especially what happens with her during this issue. I'm really excited to see what's going to go down in the next one. This is such a good story.
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm going to start bringing to the table in this show is referencing the playlist, which will be live on the website tomorrow. One of the songs for this book is "Waiting for the Hammer to Fall" by Queen. It really does feel like that is a thing, right? Like you're just waiting for him to hit somebody with that hammer, and when he does, it pays off so nicely.
Would another song for it be Maxwell Silverhammer?
No, because this one's on fire. Silver would melt. I have another. The other song I have is it's instrumental called "When Gods Cry." But the thing about this book that I liked most was not the action or any of that kind of stuff. It was the time he spent with his wife or his ex-wife. You kind of get another look into why Mosley's life is the way it is, right? It's this kind of, oh, I get it now. Like, this is a guy who has always been sort of an all or nothing type. So to see that archetype played in this sort of relationship setting was interesting, and it really did provide enough of a character insight that I'm going to be kind of upset when it's a 3-issue series and there's nothing more for this character, or a 4-issue series and there's no, you know what I mean? Like, when we have to leave Marvin Mosley, I'm going to want more Marvin Mosley. Yeah. So, all right. Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the Dog of War. I'll go first. I don't like Star Trek. The fact that there is a corgi on the cover is the redeeming part of this book for me. Because if you don't, there's an author on TikTok who has a dog named Stuntman Mike, who is like this crazy Pomeranian who like tries to jump off boats and get in fights with bigger dogs and stuff. Like, that's why they call him Stuntman Mike. And I just heard the whole book narrated through that dog's voice from TikTok. Again, not a huge Star Trek fan, and definitely not a Deep Space Nine fan. It was fine. It wasn't great for me. If you were into Star Trek, I think it'd be much more your vibe.
As someone who watched DS9 when it was on regularly and was big into Star Trek at the time, not so much now, Haven't really watched any of the new stuff, but that era, the Next Generation DS9, I love that, and this really has that feel. The writer definitely gets the different characters. Uh, Quark is a tough one to write because you've got to balance uh, his greed and being a Ferengi off of occasionally he shows heart, which you don't get from a Ferengi. Um, Overall, I thought it was really good. It was a fun issue. They've got something interesting going on here. I just wish they could find a little bit better way to do Odo's face. It's very disturbing the way they got it going because it's basically just blank, and then the eyes, and there's lines around the eyes and stuff. And I think there's got to be a better way to do that than make it look like he just had his face erased.
Yeah.
So overall, I liked it.
It's kind of middle of the road for me. I equate the Star Trek books kind of like sports for me. I don't watch sports, but I love playing them. I'll play any sport. I love playing. This is like, I could see this as an episode, but I definitely would much rather watch it than read it. I just think a lot of these Star Trek books just aren't for me. I'm not like the biggest Star Trek fan, but I've watched pretty much all of them except for the ones that are out now on Paramount Plus. But I'm not saying it's a bad book. I don't know. I just feel like I would have enjoyed watching this more than I did reading it.
All right.
By the way, for any ladies listening, Rupert Murdoch and his fiancée have just broken up. So the 92-year-old billionaire is single again.
Huh.
Sonic the Hedgehog, fifth. You put 50th anniversary. This is 5th anniversary edition.
Their write-up said 50th.
I understand. I was going to go into that. There's no way Sonic the Hedgehog is on its 50th anniversary. It's impossible. But I looked at the write-up and I saw that too, and I'm going, so if there's some confusion about how old Sonic the Hedgehog is, just know no one knows. Sonic the Hedgehog, years active, 1991 to present. So not only is it not 5, it's also not 50. In fact, there's no 5 in any of the numbers that it could be. It's 32.
How long has IDW been doing Sonic?
That's exactly what it is. It's been at IDW for 5 years.
I'll go first with this one because I don't have a whole lot to say about it. It was just a fun Sonic story with some tales thrown in for good measure. It was a fun read, and just like Sonic, it was super fast. But I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist of this one. Is if you like Sonic, it's a fun little story. It's nothing too serious. You don't have to have pre-read anything. You can jump in. It's a great book to give to a kid. It's a fun little book and talks about inspiring people and standing up for where you live and stuff like that. So, yeah, I thought it was cool.
For me,
you hate Tails.
Yes, I hate Tails. But the only thing that I would add to what Dan and Jay have said is that it's helpful if you know who Dr. Robotnik / Dr. Egghead is. Like, it can't hurt to have a little bit of that back knowledge, but you certainly don't need it, which is what makes this really great. Sonic is one of those that you should never have to have a big backstory to understand. And if you do, they've done it wrong. So for me, this book really was just kind of a nice palate cleanser book. And it was great. Again, like they said, it'd be a great introductory. $7.99 for 32 pages is a little out there. But overall, a good book. John wants us to do Scar, so should we wait?
Can't wait to hear about Scar. Fingers are crossed. Yeah, we can save that one to the end. By the way, for some reason, Thomas joining. Hello, Thomas. I see Thomas R. Bishop, and I think is that he should put in Thomas R. Bishop enters diagonally.
Should we do Scar next for real?
Yes,
Let's do Scar.
Yes.
Okay. Somebody else go first.
You want me to go first? Dan, you want to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I saw The Lion King years ago. At no point watching The Lion King did I go, you know, that evil bastard lion, we should do a comic book about him. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I read it and really liked it. The art is good. The story is it a redemption story? Is that where we're going with this? I don't know. But I really liked how he gets kind of put in his place. And, you know, we get Riki or whatever his name is back. And
Rafiki.
Rafiki. I surprisingly really liked this book. Again, I saw, you know, I do some promotional stuff from Dynamite, and I was promoting this book, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't know why. It's a lion. What kind of story are you going to do about the second geared lion? No, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it really was a good read. Art's good, story's good, and they've got some great covers for it too.
Yeah, same. This was so good, and at first I was like, you know what? I think, and I read later and I found out it was accurate. I was like, I think this is running like concurrently with the movie. I think I read a little farther that it takes place right after Simba is born and goes through right before he kills Mufasa, I think is kind of the timeline with this. So for me, it's like I don't watch a whole lot of regular TV, so I don't know if they do this anymore, but it's like watching an episode of a TV show, right? And then they show you the exact same TV episode, but it's from a different character's perspective. So it feels like an entirely new thing. You're just seeing it from the perspective of a different character. So it's like a fresh story, but it still feels familiar. And I think it was a bold choice out of all the Disney villains. The first one you're going to pick, I thought that was pretty bold. But, you know, if you were excited to get this book, you should get it. I think the team did a great job on this.
I'm going to start off and not talk about the book. 24 covers for this book. If Nick is out there listening or anyone from Dynamite, pick 4 and stop. Okay?
It's 24, but most of each cover have a black and white version and a
That's not true
version.
for this book.
No, it is.
No, I'm looking at them right now, Dan. This cover is replicated 6 different times in different versions, which, okay, fair. I'm good with that. But there are some of these that are just different and are only available in other ways. Pick 4 and stop. Here's the thing. I can't, on a book that I like, justify it. And the problem is I want most of them. So now instead of buying Scar and buying other books that I'm interested in, I'm not only not buying Scar and other books that I'm interested in, I'm only buying one book. And it's not good. It's not. And some of these covers that are really cool are 1 in 100, 1 in 150. They're not gettable for the regular person.
Yeah, but if you're spending all that money on 24 covers for Scar, it's good for Dynamite.
But it's bad for comics. You made a great comic, maybe my favorite comic of the week, and then you tell me this is how many covers there are to get, and I have to decide, do I want to support other companies and support my local comic shop by buying their other inventory, or do I just want to buy Scar?
Just buy your favorite cover.
The problem is, Dan, they're all my favorite cover.
Or wait a little bit. It'll end up on Comic Collectibles like 70% off. You get it that way.
Right. Like, how is that good for anybody? So here's the problem. When you hit a home run like they hit here, these little things that don't bother you when it's Vampirella and it's only okay are hugely problematic. So this is the best book out this week, in my opinion, by a long shot. But Dynamite is looking its gift horse in the mouth a little too much. And it's not good for everybody else because there are other good books that won't get bought because people are spending money on this. Speaking of books that won't get bought.
Subtle segue.
Dan texted me last night going, I'm reading Hairball. Who would make this book?
Matt Kent.
Well, and I didn't notice this until this morning. It's Matt Kent's imprint. So it's they're letting Matt Kent make whatever he wants imprint. Which explains a lot.
Yeah. If this wasn't a short week, I would have skipped this book. Or if we didn't have, because I don't get it. I mean, it's nothing interesting happens. We find out the cat's psychotic.
Which is true of all cats.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like maybe Matt or whoever wrote, just has a peculiar cat. This is a crazy cat lady book.
I'm waiting for this to be a Space Aliens book. I feel like that's what he's setting up. That the little hair, that the cat itself isn't really a cat; it's an alien ship or something, a portal to an alien dimension, and that the hairballs are space aliens that are like murderous. Something has happened, and I look at the cover and I'm going, "Oh, it's the Banshees of Inisherin with a cat instead of a donkey." I wish it was that boring. It was somehow more boring.
Yes. I don't know who the audience is for this.
I will say this, and this was pointed out to me last night. The trade paperback of this book has faux cat hair on the cover.
Oh, wow.
What exactly type of photos does Matt have that gets him this imprint?
He's one of the most reliable writers going, like in terms of most everything he writes is a hit. If occasionally he writes a flop, he'll write 2 great books to cover it. But my God, this one's flop.
Mad props to him for finding his audience, but I'm definitely not in it. Because so far the books we've read from him, I liked what he did at Valiant. I have not liked what he's done on his own.
Yeah, his Exo run is amazing. So if you've read anything else from him that you didn't like, pay no mind to that.
Yeah.
For me, though, I'm interested. I have, this is something just, it's different. I have a ton of questions. Now, the biggest one being is, we're hearing this from the little girl telling her psychiatrist things. Like, so, and we've already been told she has an active imagination. So are we seeing real events? Or is this all in her head? She's just making it up. That's what I'm interested in. I want to know. Like, as soon as I find out one way or the other, my interest will probably be gone. But I just want to know, is this just a little girl who's crazy?
Or that would make it more interesting if this was her way of justifying a psychotic break that she's having or something.
I mean, abusive foster family. I mean,
right. She can't deal with what's happening to her family, so she's making up this story about this cat.
Okay, but that's going to go back to my question of who's the audience for this? Because basically you spend an entire book hearing about how horrible this little girl's life is, other than her best friend, the cat named Bestie, and that Bestie is doing some weird stuff. But I don't want to spend 20, 30 minutes reading a comic that's just so down and depressing and boring. There's not like there's any action. There's no, I mean, we really don't get to like her. We definitely don't like the parents. We don't even get to like the psychiatrist because we know he's stooping the mom. I don't get it.
Word.
What?
Stooping is a good word.
It is. So I don't get the audience on this. I don't know what the market is for this book.
It's true.
People who just like depressing stories, I guess. I guess that's why we're still not reading Alice.
I hated Alice.
That book ended on a really weird note, and there's another volume coming out, and I already pre-ordered the trade. Just because I got to know. Like, I got to know how they're ending that book. Like, I have no interest in continuing to read that book, but I got to know.
I don't read comics to be depressed.
I agree. And with the Alice book, ooh, that's not what I wanted to have happen. There we go. That's also not it, but I'm trying to find the right thing. There it is. Yeah, with the Alice book, right? Like, I don't read comics to be depressed either. But like, we were so far committed to that when we stopped reading it that I needed to finish it so my brain wouldn't hurt. And then the way it ended on this incredibly ridiculously odd note. Like that clearly was, they're clearly taking a play out of the Alice in Wonderland thing, right? Like, it's curious. It's a very curious note. Mm-hmm. So now I've got to see how it ends. Like, I've got to read the next volume to see what happens. But I'm not going to buy it issue by issue. I'm going to wait for the trade and just call it. So, Dan.
Yeah.
The Dan Wickline Show.
Right.
What are we doing tomorrow?
Well, since there's that new trailer for Blue Beetle, and he may not be the world's most popular character, I thought I'd do a bit of a primer to get people ready for that. And give them an idea who Blue Beetle is and why there's 3 costumes in the movie and stuff like that.
Very cool. And then Thursday will be
The Mandalorian.
Jay, how about you? What do you got? What's on the docket for the Space Cadets?
I'm gonna be real honest with you. I don't remember. It's been a crazy past 2 weeks, so I don't remember offhand. But I can tell you this: it's probably something ridiculous, like it usually is. It's fun, but it's ridiculous. And then we had a bunch of people show up last time. I made sure I was in the comments saying hi to people. I saw Mr. John Castle-Spilios was there and some new people, so it was really cool to see. So
20 by 4 asks what we think about the new Harry Potter reboot news. Now, I covered that on my show earlier. This is basically them talking about doing all 7 Harry Potter books again as a series, with each book being its own season. But but I can't see them doing the last book in one season. If all of the first book is going to be one season, there's too much that happened in the last two books even to be one season. But I don't really like the idea because I think the movies are still too fresh and beloved to reboot. I think they would be better off mining another area of Harry Potter world. But they want the money, and that's why Discovery bought Warner Brothers to milk all the IPs.
Well, I got a question then, real fast. What amount of time is an appropriate time before you consider doing a reboot of a series? Is there one?
I think it depends on how well it's received. You look at the Batman; they're rebooting it constantly, and Spider-Man as well. But I honestly thought both the most recent Batman, the most recent Spider-Man reboots were too soon. I liked them, but they felt too soon. Harry Potter, you can't look at when it began; you got to look at when it ended. Which, off the top of my head, I don't remember, but it doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
So I never saw a Harry Potter movie.
Mm-hmm.
Never read a Harry Potter book. I formed my Harry Potter opinion, which used to be no opinion, and now it's I dislike Harry Potter based on an interaction with a CW marketing professional at a Comic-Con who refused to let me leave the comic floor without telling them if I was excited to see Crimes of the Grindelwald. And I told them in no uncertain terms, I identify as Grindelwald. I don't know what that means, but I hate Harry Potter because of it. So it's entirely too soon to reboot something that in the last 10 years, I've had such a negative experience with.
And they just did another.
Right. And aren't those movies still coming out? Like it
was supposed to be more Fantastic Beasts, but they're not doing any more of the Fantastic Beasts because the last one flopped.
Okay. So, but they were just recently making extended universe stuff. You gotta stop making something so that people can miss it before you make more of it.
Yep. I think that's the big problem with what happened to Shazam is that, they're announcing all the new stuff they're doing with DC, and they've still got Shazam and Flash and Aquaman and Blue Beetle coming out. And they're not saying whether those things are connected or not. They're not being clear about it. So people are like, why should I go bother to see Shazam? What's the point?
Right. And that's what I was saying for the longest time before the James Gunn announcement came out. What Warner Discovery needs to do with DC is say, we're not making any movies for 5 years. We're done. We're taking a break. Let Marvel do their thing. And if superhero fatigue is a real thing, Marvel will be the victim and we'll be sitting over here sitting pretty. And in that 5 years, get your leader, get your vision, write 6 or 8 perfect scripts, start production, get your 6 or 8 perfect cast members, start your production slowly as if you're starting something brand new.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, when it comes up, people will miss Superman and Batman. Can't miss them if they never really left. And then drop those movies. And people will love them because, oh my God, they're here. Whereas, I don't miss my ex because I run into her at the grocery store. Can't miss them if they're never really gone.
With a cart?
Depending on her mood and my mood.
Thomas, what I've heard is that the 2 planned follow-ups to Fantastic Beasts are very unlikely to happen.
Before we get back to the books, I have to tell you the most useless piece of Harry Potter information that I know. Okay?
Is it how to spell Harry Potter?
No. Harry Potter is not an original name that J.K. Rowling came up with. There is a movie back in the early 80s, mid to late 80s called Troll, where there was a Harry Potter Senior and a Harry Potter Junior, years before the Harry Potter books came out.
It's a common enough name, though.
Right. Be like naming someone John Smith.
Yeah.
But I like it.
So I was covering, when I was working at Bleeding Cool, we had a bunch of reporters go to San Diego Con, and when Fantastic Beasts came out, they gave away his wand. So
Dan for Hagrid. They rebooted Dan for Hagrid. That's perfect.
I just figured that was a Dan Wickline sized chopstick.
I need two of them, but I could totally do that.
Warner Brothers, call us, man.
All right. The Witcher, The Ballad of Two Wolves, number 4.
This, normally we try not to do that many later in the series thing, but we've done all the issues of this book. And I really like it. You know, this has been a really good series. I love the Witcher books. I love the Witcher series. And I really liked the ending of this one, especially how they did the very ending.
Yeah.
That was very, I don't know, emotional. It was a nice touch. This has been a consistent series as well. You know, this is a great trade to pick up because it's a good, solid story. You know, it didn't feel like, oh, well, the third issue was filler, that type of thing. It was a good mystery that Geralt had to solve. We got Dandelion in there, or Jasker, however you want to refer to him as. Yeah, I just really like this book. I hope they do more miniseries like this. I like them in the smaller format. I don't want to see an ongoing series. I like the little short story versions they're doing.
Yeah.
One shots would work well too for this.
Yeah, I thought the same. I thought it was a really good final issue. Excuse me. Tied everything up and had a few nice twists in it. This is yet another series that we read that I'm going to go back and reread it, just because there's things I've probably forgotten, but also because it's been that good. You know, I played a bit of the game, like one of the games, and I watched season 1 of The Witcher. Never read any of the books or anything like that, but this comic for me works in a way that even if you've done none of that, it's still very enjoyable. Like, you don't have to be, you know, a scholar of The Witcher to like the book. I hope to see more of this in the future too. So,
by the way, if you are a prose reader, the books are fantastic. They're short. They're done in short story formats, so you don't have to dive into. At least the ones I've read so far have been. But the author has this sense of humor that is a bit toned down in the series and stuff. That is just really great. There's some really good humor in the book as well, which you don't expect. So. Kyle?
It was fine.
good enough.
Did you roll a 1?
I don't like The Witcher. Never been a fan of The Witcher. This series has been fine. It's been good. I've not minded it, even though I don't like The Witcher. Kind of glad it's over. Ended on a good note. If it would go longer, I would lose interest. So they did a good job of doing a decent story in the right number of issues just to keep your interest. I have no attachment to these characters and have no attachment to the lore. So some of it was just like, it fell flat for me because, again, okay, who is that guy and why is he important? I don't have any reference. But if you took The Witcher out of it and just left in the story, it still would have been a good story, even if it had been just a random kind of Norsey, medievally kind of warrior story.
Like if it was done by Neil Gaiman and P. Craig Russell as part of Norse mythology.
You know what I thought? It'd been really good if it was a Red Sonja story.
So do you not like Witcher because he looks a bit like a mailman you had as a kid who kicked your dog?
I don't like Witcher because I didn't enjoy the video games. So I had no desire to enjoy. I had no desire to watch the show. I don't like the open world running around video games. Like I'm much more a go here, do this thing, then go to the next spot and do this thing, because my ADHD will lead to me just running in circles for days trying to find the next mission or whatever. So The Witcher was not good for me. Same with like some of the other like Skyrims and some of those that are undoubtedly great games, but they ain't for me. The Batman games are like that for me. I just can't play them because it's why am I back at this house again? Yeah. I wasn't running to here. Well, you've been running in a circle for 2 days. Like, it's just not I'm not good at that stuff.
It is always entertaining to find out why Kyle doesn't like something.
Well, it's just like I said, it's one of those is that maybe before the next season of The Witcher comes out, I'll sit down and watch the show just so I have the reference points, but I haven't so far. I've had no reason to. So, I mean, that's why. It's not that I don't like it. It's I just have no opinion on it, really.
Okay.
Crochet in Hell. I'm going to give you one of my soundtrack songs for this one. It's a song called My Stupid Heart by Walk Off the Earth, which is not at all the vibe of this book. But every time I saw the glowy heart, I thought about this song. And so, like, I put it on there.
I was thinking of Seasons in Hell from the Eddie and the Cruisers soundtrack.
Yeah, it's another good one.
And a vague reference. This was a nice wrap up. I'm kind of disappointed that it wraps it up because I was enjoying this series. Getting to someone else in the Magnolaverse that had a pretty interesting story. And I think we get a happy ending, which is really kind of weird in a Magnola book. They usually have those kind of, well, it's ended type of endings, But this one, nice wrap up on it. I really enjoyed this series. It's a character I wasn't familiar with. I think Kyle was more familiar with the actual mythos and stuff. But this was really good.
Yeah. First note I put on here was, what a beautiful ending to what has been, to me, just an awesome story. Once again, this is going to be one of those that I go back and I reread just because, man, this book from start to finish, this is an arc. It is drastically, the first issue and this issue, drastically different. My goodness. And I can't believe how much story is actually in these 4 issues. Like when I saw this on the list, I looked and I was like, this is only issue number 4. And usually that's a bad thing. Usually you're like, man, this is still going. But this was just like, they put so much story into these 4 issues. Like, I hope we see more of this character somehow, whether it's a completely different story or just something, because I really enjoyed this one.
I'll get to my review in a second. I just got a text from a barbecue friend of mine. That's the Skeletor meme. Where Skeletor laying like the doctor from Jurassic Park and then running away. It says meat consumed as a comfort food is also an emotional support animal.
Until next time.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of emotional support animals, I love Crochet. He might be my favorite non-Hellboy character in the Mignolaverse. Every series they've done with him has been very good. This is the high water mark thus far. This series has been great. I agree with Dan when he says you don't normally get a happy ending in a Mike Mignola verse. It's just kind of like, it's over now, go home.
Yeah.
And this one ties it into a nice little bow and lets you feel like you've accomplished something. And I really enjoyed that about it. The one kind of little knock I would have on this book is only that this is one of those books that I want a one page previously on. Just remind me where we left off, because I don't always remember, and it's been like that in every Crochet story, by the way, and it's like that in a lot of Mignola books because they get so detailed and in the weeds with their storytelling that sometimes it just gets hard to follow. So a previously on page would be huge for this book, but overall, just a stunner. So, all right. Last book this week. It was a light week. But man, oh man. Should I give you my soundtrack pick for this book?
Yes.
Bloodbath at the Burger King is one of the songs that I picked.
I would go with Burning Up for Your Love. Burning up for your love.
Well, I thought about Burning Down the House.
Nice.
But no, Bloodbath at the Burger King, because it's a funny song about a disgruntled Burger King worker, and it kind of feels like this is a series about a bunch of disgruntled serial killers now.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, what's funny is that Zenoscope just made a movie deal, or I don't remember if it was movie or TV, with a similar premise to this book about a community of serial killers. And there it was called Pleasant Cove, and this is where monsters lie, which I think is interesting. I haven't read the Pleasant Cove one. This one kicks ass.
Yes.
It started to lose me a little bit last and on issue 2, but issue 3 brought me back around. You know, the kid that leads him out to this, he's got a line, and normally line delivery in a comic book, it's tough because it's not sound. But he's got a line where there's this giant dog, and he's like, "That's a big dog. Why is that dog so big?" And it's like, in all the things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it in Chris Rock's voice too. Like, that's a big dog. Why that dog so big?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. It's such a violent book, but you enjoy the violence, you know, and the cops are idiots, and the killers are just so irredeemable. I'm not sure what this story is supposed to be for. It's just mad entertainment. It reminds me of like a John Wick story. It's like the pitch meeting for John Wick had to be, Keanu Reeves is going to kill a lot of people. Why? They killed his dog. Win.
Mm-hmm.
What's this one? Cops try to bring down a cove of serial killers. Okay. We don't need a lot of plot. We don't need a lot of character development or story arcs. We're 3 issues in, and it's been pretty much straightforward. And it works. It's spectacle. That's
you know
what
how
it is.
you know how Mark, when he comes on the show, ranks books based on how few words they use. This is a book that if it had 0 words, you would still understand implicitly what's happening.
Oh yeah.
You don't need any of the text. That's a big dog. We get it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm still waiting for there to be this weird turn with the little old lady. Like this something has that the little old lady is actually a cannibal or something great. Like, you know, like that she's actually like the serial killerist of serial killers.
Yeah.
But like I am in love with this book so far.
By the way, I called it. That the guys whose name we can't say
Mhm.
As soon as his flowers got damaged, that's when he'd go on a killing spree.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
man, was that glorious.
There are security features on modern lawn appliances that would not allow that to happen. But oh my God, when it does.
Yeah. And the two cops who are just standing there in all this chaos talking, and they looked, I thought that was a baby until he kicked it in the air.
Right. It's like, you know who needs to make this movie? The Broken Lizard guys.
Yes, 100%.
Right? Like the gang from Super Troopers making this movie,
Oh,
maybe with some Kevin Smith in there or something, would absolutely be a masterpiece for the ages.
I think the Broken Lizard guys with Rob Zombie.
Fair.
sold.
Fair.
And that's why somebody needs to hire Dan.
Mhm.
I keep saying it. Look, bro, why is this book so damn good? I want to see this now. Like, before it even finishes, I want to see this on TV now because I would watch this religiously. All 3 issues for me have just been phenomenal. And this is my favorite book this week. There are books that are super, super close, but this one, I think it's mainly because it's a number 3 and it's still this good. Man, like, spoiler kind of, we do lose some folks in just like epic fashion. And others were not exactly sure what their fate is just yet, what their fates are just yet. Do not mess with the Freak Master's plants because, my goodness, just there's a old I want to say it's a Romero zombie movie, but I can't remember, or the movie's called Brain Dead or something. I have not seen that happen in a comic book, but I have seen it happen in a movie. Seeing it in a comic works almost just as well as seeing it in the movie. I love that part. I loved it. This should be on everybody's radar and your pull list. I think this book is fantastic.
If you need one last reason, it's simply that there's a line in the book that says, that guy has a teddy bear on his head.
Oh,
Triple B, you need to get this book. It's wild. All right. That's it for all of the books this week. It was a rather light week. We will be back next week with more books.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, maybe if you know things work out. This show, as always, is brought to you with limited commercial interruption, which is none, by ComicShopLocator.com. Head over to ComicShopLocator.com and type in the zip code of the area where you are, and it will tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you, so that you can go and visit them and buy things from them, like all the issues of Where Monsters Lie. If they still have them. If they don't, it's because they ordered properly and their people know what's good. So make sure you check that out wherever you go. Tune in tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific for the Dan Wickline Show, giving you a deep dive on Blue Beetle and why Big Belly Burger is maybe the most influential place in all of the DC universe. And tune in Thursday night for Space Cadets, where Jay will likely be in the comments trying to fend off Jenna, trying to make other comments. It'll be great. I'll be back Monday night with Hot Takes, where unless something more topical comes up, I will be talking about variant covers. I've been saying this for a week now, or for a month now, but every time something more topical comes up, so we've been waiting. So
You should get Nick to be your guest on Monday night.
Not gonna do it. I would like to talk on my own show. Done enough shows with Nick where I don't get to talk.
thanks for everybody for showing up as always.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
Thanks everybody for being here. We will see you all next time.